I am really excited today. I have a man here that you may have heard of. He doesn't really need an introduction. He's if you have a favorite business coach or guru, he's probably they probably were a student of his at some point. I have none other than Thom Plummer with us today. So excited, Thom. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Oh, love it, man. Thanks for asking. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, the time we spent together lately, we talk about so much of this stuff anyway. It's kind of nice to, to see if we can
Yes.
share a little of that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm assuming a lot of the people listening have heard of you. We do have mostly gym owners, but there are definitely other people there. So if you don't mind, I know this is kind of broad, but maybe just share like how you got into what you ultimately got into, which we know is really training, coaching, mentoring lots of people in the industry. But I know it didn't start there. So if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about that backstory.
uh, it's the timing of this. Your questions are kind of fun because I just spent a whole day trying to get people to think about who they are, how they got here, where they want to be in 10 years. And then I'm also working on I'm doing a keynote for one of the mentorship groups coming up
Mm-hmm.
very soon. So I had to go back and kind of recreate all this. And I hadn't
Okay.
really put it down or thought about it lately. It's like, okay, so how the hell did I get here? And you look back. So I trained my first client in 1977. So I'm pushing 50 years in this. And I was in graduate school in Arkansas, and I worked my way through working in a gym karate school. So it was Leon Sneerly's Power Company in
Oh,
Fayetteville, Arkansas. So I was the trainer and teaching martial art classes, and also doubled as the janitor and about everything else in this gym. And it was kind of fun. But as I finished graduate school, I realized I didn't want to what I'd studied for. I didn't want to do. And I was sitting there in this office with my counselor, and she was very patient. And she goes, she was kind of laughing at me. So she goes, it's taken you 2 years to realize you screwed up. And I go, yeah. I go, I don't want to do this. I said, she goes, what do you want to do? And I had some advice from one of my old teachers in high school 10 years earlier. And that day, it just kind of came back to me. And he said, if you learn more about one thing you love, find something you truly love and just
wow.
master it, learn more about it than anything else. And I repeated that to her, and she goes, well, what's your one thing? What would you do? And I go, God, I love this gym business thing. I played high school sports and all that type of stuff, but here I am working in a gym and I'm selling memberships and doing this. I go, God, I love this business. And nobody knew anything about the business. There were no
Mm.
workshops. There were really, nobody had written books yet or anything. I said, God, I love this business. And she goes, then do it. Just do it. So I packed up my crap and I was heading to Seattle and ran out of money in Arizona and worked at another karate school there for a while, and then got picked up by a national organization. And then I spent 5 years working for a Taekwondo school in San Diego, or a year there. And then from there, I got hired from the American Taekwondo Association. They had maybe 300 schools at the time and about 90 Nautilus centers back in the day.
Mm.
So they hired me. I was all of about 23, 24 years old. I was doing leases and helping karate school guys and teaching sales, and all. I had no clue what the hell I was doing.
Mm.
And once I was in, I just never. So I taught my first seminar in '79, and I've never not been in the gym business. It's just some aspect of it, and that just kept leading to another step and finally out on my own. And it's I'm sitting on the end of a 50-year run.
Really interesting. I don't think you and I have ever discussed this, but I did not realize that, and that's a commonality. I mean, you got just a couple of years on me, but I've not done anything else outside of the fitness and gym industry. So one thing that comes to mind when you share that is, of course, the importance of like you said, learning more about the thing that you're passionate about. Obviously, there should be an economic engine behind it. I think that's such a good point that I don't want to just gloss over. How does that how does that relate to the listener who's a gym owner? Because there's lots to learn. It can be overwhelming. I have to learn. I mean, just from the business side alone, right? I have to learn. I got to learn finance. I got to learn the sales. I have to learn how to train my clients. They probably should know all these things before they they get to a certain point. Because even for yourself, like you've done speaking and books, and I mean, obviously that all didn't just happen. But you started with that idea of I'm just going to learn as much as I can as possible. Like, how does that actually play out in someone's life or career?
A couple of good points in that. And a good question is if you open a business, you should have an idea of what that business is going to do for your life. What's the point of this? And then if you're going to do it, master all aspects of it. And very few do. Most owners, they're so busy being busy that they don't have any time to make money. And I call that the horizontal management method. If you take a barbell and put it this way, then like, okay, I train clients, and then I do marketing, and then I work with my banker, and then I fire somebody and hire somebody and train somebody. So everything they do is straight across, and it's all equal. They 60 hours a week, and like, man, I did something this week. No, you didn't. You didn't make any money. Because then the second part of that is if you turn that barbell up, straight up and down, well, you got to sell somebody something or it dies. But we don't master sales. I'm surprised how many, not surprised anymore, it's kind of been there, done that, but how many people get into the gym business and then refuse to master the basics. It's like, there can't be 1 in 10 that takes a marketing course. Even an online course on how to maximize some aspect of your marketing, guys won't take it. They don't learn how to write. They don't learn how to do marketing. They can't read a financial statement. They think a trainer is going to be next. So they're always frustrated because they're looking for that magic, that, oh God, I hate the term, that, that $1 million playbook, it's just, and then back to the other part of your question is looking at who they are, what they are, and how you do that. If I start with lifestyle, and this is, I'm using the gym to create a vehicle to pay for my life, then I've got to be good at it. I've got to master it. I've got to understand it. I've got to get into it and just be the best that ever was at it. But a lot of people, they get into it and they really don't know how they're going to get out of it. There's no expected outcome. It's a tool, it's a vehicle, but they don't know how to use the tool. And there's no way forward for them. You go 4, 5, 6, 7 years and you're burned down. You didn't make the money you think you're going to make, but you never mastered the business, nor did you even know what that business is going to do for you. And
wow,
so it's kind of you got to fix them, and kind of the weird thing in there amongst all that pitter patter is until you fix the structure of the gym and the person, nothing changes. So you can't patch it. You can't buy that super playbook or this hack or this thing and paste it on top of something that's already dysfunctional. Until you fix the dysfunction, what is this business? It's got to be a vehicle to sell new memberships. Until you fix that part, nothing changes.
Wow, that is, I'm assuming, a big wake-up call for people. And just a couple of those points. I actually had this written in my notes before you shared them, and I'm glad you did share them. One was too busy to make money. So, yeah, the idea, you called it vertical versus horizontal management.
Yeah, vertical is I focus, how many new leads did I get in? Can I convert those into memberships, and at what rate? And so the first thing you got to do every day is, am I going to add new members to this? But then we hear nobody trains like I do. Nobody can train members. Nobody writes a program like I do. And then a lot of these guys are dabblers. They own the gym business, but they want to be speakers. They sort of try to write a Chat GPT style book. They have a million things they want to do, but so they do everything in their life, but they never. And then they wake up one day and they're 50 years old and they haven't made any money, and they're again tired backs and sore heads and brains that are burned down, and they still haven't made the money they want because that they never understood what they own and why they owned it.
Yeah. So that was one. The other one was, yes, it has to sell something every day, or it dies, and those two go hand in hand. And just reminds me of the idea that if we're gonna be doing all the things in the business, it's going to be impossible, especially when you add in all the other things in life. I have a family, I have kids, and whatever else. I have to decide, set up a system and structure so that I have the time and the energy. Because I have some people that you talk to, and they're trying to fit in this thing that's slightly important, aka sales and marketing, and they're trying to squeeze it into the 10 minutes they have between sessions, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I call it the bro brother marketing, where I've only got 3 minutes, so here I am with no shirt doing my workout.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we do strength training here, and I've got professional trainers, and I've got all this stuff, and it's okay. I did my marketing. Well, you threw up a couple of really strange posts with no target market, and it's all about you, and it's so because you didn't take the time to do it right, but you checked off a box. I did marketing today. Now I got to go back and train somebody, but then I got a staff that didn't show up, but I got a member that's pissed off because they missed a session and it wasn't handled properly. So you're busy all day. You think you're just kicking ass, but at the end, you didn't get anything done. You didn't make any money, and it takes a while because you always think I'm going to get there.
If I keep doing more stuff, if I keep doing more posts, if I keep signing up for this course and that course, and I read this book and that book, and I just keep doing these things, eventually it'll work itself out. But that usually is not the case, right?
Yeah, it's like you get up every day and you run a very slow mile, and you think you're going to run a marathon. And I run a slow mile every single day, and so you run an ineffective business every single day, but it's not going to get you to any kind of stuff. So you start your first year at 25,000, you get to 30,000 a month, and you're stuck there for 7 or 8 years. And probably 70 to 80% of the training gyms in the country are like that. And it's funny. You and I were talking before we started recording today about I just did a life planning thing, but I had 3 guys in there that are in their training gyms are all pushing $2 million for 1 year. And one guy's got 400 clients. He should hit $2 million this year. Another guy's got 1,900 feet. He's chasing $2 million in 1,900 square feet. And because they focus on the other end of the spectrum, this thing is a vehicle to pay for the rest of my life. How do I maximize it? And they know all the parts. They know they've studied marketing. They've studied leadership. They've studied all the things that are important to get them to that point. And a lot of guys are so busy that they don't take the time to even, as I said earlier, even to sign up for a little online marketing course and knock down a couple hours because they don't have the time. They don't have the time to learn about the business enough to help their business.
Absolutely, and I can't help but think of the financial side. I hear people say, I don't have time to separate my business and my personal finances, or I don't have time to set up a plan to prepare for my tax liability. I mean, these are like 101 things that you have no choice. It's gonna catch up with you. You have to make time for it. Same thing with the sales and marketing. With all that said, let's kind of peel it back a little bit and say, I'm listening. I do want people to feel encouraged. So, I'm in that mode like so many, and I'm scrambling around and I got a million things to do and I don't have time to do it. Number one, those little pockets of time certainly can be helpful. So I don't want to like totally poo-poo that. If you have 10 minutes and you reach out to 2 past clients, like good for you. Great. But if I want to fix the dysfunction, Thom, you mentioned looking at where do you want to go? How is this business going to serve your life and your goals? You talked about, what is it that you're doing? Is there anything else you would share in terms of like I get it. I got to fix this. Would you? I know it's a broad question, but is it like, would you peel back one piece at a time? Would you where would you start? I'm just kind
of. I write a lot about change and why people don't change. And in the gym business, the main, some people don't change because, the ones that don't change is ego. Any business can be fixed if the owner is coachable.
Yeah.
So, but why aren't they coachable? Well, ego. One is I'm I'm this person and I'm just going to figure it out myself. And I don't need, I'll just go and maybe get an idea here or here, but I can fix it myself. I don't need anybody helping me. And then two's the guy that comes in, he wants to change and he asks for help, but then he takes the help home and then screws it up because, as I say, like they're big dogs. You take your golden retriever to the park, you open up your truck, he runs out and pees all over everything. He's marking his territory. So the big dogs in the training business, meaning you give them an idea, they got to take home and just pee all over it because they got to make it theirs. But then if they screwed that idea up because they changed it, they still blame the guy they got it from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you go down the progression of change. People that are truly open to change and want to change, if they did it with that. The number one thing, to answer your question directly, if you're training over 10 hours a week in your own gym, you'll never make over $30,000 a month. That's very rare to do. Are there exceptions that, yeah, I'm sure there's a couple guys out there going, yeah, dude, I'm doing 50 grand. I train 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours a week. But for most of them, if they back off their training and work on acquisition of leads, conversion into memberships, and average return per membership, if they just focus on that every single day, but you can't train 40 hours a week and do the marketing because that's 20 to 30 hours a week to do your marketing and acquisition correctly.
There's marketing, there's sales, there's finance, there's the rest of your life. So something's going to drop if you're doing, in that case, over 10 hours or whatever the number is. If you love training, great. Do a little bit and maybe fill in when you want to, but focus on the business. It's like that old concept, right? If we work in the business constantly, we're not going to be able to grow it. That's good stuff. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the end. Because you've kind of mentioned that a couple times in one way or the other, and we're also talking about the deep event that you just held, taking people through this. I think a lot of people they're just stuck in the day to day, and they're not thinking like, how is this going to end? I don't know if that sounds dark or not, but like where are we going? How's this going to end? What would you encourage people to think about? Is that like the actual business? Am I looking to sell this someday? Am I trying to create a cash vehicle to build wealth outside the business? Like, what does that actually mean to think about the end, or where is this going?
I just talked to a guy this morning before we started this. Early 40s, just had the best year he's had since he's had the business. Cracked $1 million, but he's looking at opening a second unit. He's looking at just staying in the unit he's in and maximizing that, or he's looking at opening 5 units. He's not, and because he doesn't know, every day he thinks, but nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we get caught up in this, the what ifs. If you know what you want and what you're trying to get done. So again, I'm saying by your birthday, by the time you're 50 years old, what do you want? And then work backwards from there. So lifestyle, do you want, and in the gym every day, how do you want to live in your gym? He just came back from an extended vacation. He had a good manager, but he comes back and it's changed again. And so is your lifestyle more important? Because we don't know what we're trying to do. So we end up just wasting all the time, but we never accomplish what we should be doing. So if you open a gym, what is this gym? It's got to be a vehicle to pay for the life I want to live. And I used to do in the workshops, I'd write a big sheet of paper and write the word lifestyle on it. And I'd lay it on the floor and I say, everybody gather around, look at this. Start here. How do you want to live? And then figure out a vehicle to pay for it. But if I'm going to open a second gym, 5 gyms, or stay in one gym, and I don't know, then how do I go forward? So your exit strategy is, 10-year plan, 10 years from today's date, what do you want? And at that point, and then that day, I told my client today, my friend, I said, just on your 50th birthday, you walk into that gym and train because you want to, but not because you ever have to work another day in your life. So we got to get, a house paid for, maybe a secondary house because he has a place he likes to vacation. He lives in a state that's need a little more money than most states. So I said, you're probably going to have a minimum of $2 million to even breathe. And let's work backwards from there. And what vehicle is going to get you to that point? And so now these choices start to make sense. So exit strategy is never get into a business until you know how you're going to get out. What's your exit strategy? And then every couple of years, look at your 10-year plan. What am I trying to accomplish? What does this business do for me in my life? It's a vehicle to make sure that I live the lifestyle I want to live.
That's a huge point. I think we do that in reverse. We do the opposite of that, right? We start the business and we get tied up doing all different things, and we maybe are doing things because we see other people doing them. Like this other guy opened up another facility. It looks good on Instagram. There's a picture of it. It's really exciting. We have no idea what the full story is. I sometimes know the full story because I'm doing the financial work, but the rest of the world and someone like yourself, you might know. But it's dangerous. It's like, why don't we start with focusing on what we actually want and go from there? That's such a good point.
But rare. It's a rare
Very
point
rare.
because because you said it just a while ago. I mean, you said something important that I want to jump on is that you go to some kind of event, or you're sitting in a workshop, or you're at a mentorship or something, and somebody's on the stage going, here's the millionaire, the millionaire, the millionaire, and that mindset, and open 5 gyms and stuff. But it may not be right for you. It just I had a guy in upstate New York, and he had a very successful gym in a small town. The same small town where the movie The Wonderful Life, that whole setting, that ancient
Bedford, is that Bedford Falls?
yeah, but but there is
Yeah.
it's not called Bedford, but there's a town there that this guy lived in that was the model for that, and it's down on the lakes and all that type of, got some mountains behind it. It's just really cool. He had it all. He had just a beautiful property on the edge of town. He was happy. He was making money, and then he got that. It's not what I want to do, but it just, here's what you should do. And people are saying this is what you should do, and he went for it. Opened a couple of gyms, ran them okay for 4 or 5 years. Got out, not damaged, but definitely not with the money that he should have had. And I'm sitting with him about 10 years later, and sitting there late night, and he just goes, I should have never left. That was
Wow.
the whole dream. That was everything I wanted was there. And I wasted 10 years of my life chasing somebody else's dream. And so but he goes back and look at this little town and stuff, and it's just, that was his heaven on earth. That's where he wanted to be. That was his lifestyle, whatever term you want to use for it. And a lot of us get pushed down the should path, or this will make, if you do this, son, because, your mother and I that will make us so happy, or your friends go, I opened 3, or mentorship, or, why didn't you not open your 3rd club? Everybody else is doing it. And you get caught up in that. What's right for you? What do you want? What's going to enhance your life? Ask those questions before you go crazy.
That's so good. This is what you get from Thom. They're not little tactics. Like, yes, we can show you how to make a sale. We can show you how to do a marketing thing. But these are the bigger ideas that are going to make all the difference. I'll just share something a little bit personally, that with this whole idea of doing things that you think you should do and this and that, I've done pretty well of not falling into that trap, I think, for the most part. But what I will say is internally I've struggled with that. It's just, whether that's seeing another speaker or seeing somebody on social media. And now at the ripe young age of 46, I finally feel like more often than not, or more often than used to, I'll hear something or see something, and I'll just kind of take a deep breath and just say, that's good. Good for them. It's not my path, or whatever it is. So I think just the ability to do that can really save a lot of hardship, whether that's external, like financial issues, or even internal, like thinking you're, I don't know, not good enough, or thinking you're not on the right path. So I would really encourage you to embrace that idea. We talked about some powerful things already. Just a quick recap. We talked about the idea of the structure, and like just piling a bunch of random things on top is not going to fix the dysfunction that's underneath. So thinking about, what is this business going to do? Where is it going? And thinking about having the end in mind. Don't start a business, even if you've already started the business, don't continue the business without thinking about, where do you want this to go? Spend some time doing that. I don't have time. I got 17 clients today. I don't have time to think about, where this business is going. Do whatever it takes. Call in sick, take a day off, do it on the weekend if you have to, but spend some time doing this and take it seriously. With all that said, another big idea that I think about, and you've mentioned this as well, is you mentioned about writing and communicating. Most of us, we're just not spending the time learning those skills. There's this old Jim Rohn quote, which is, I might jack it up, but it's like work more on yourself, right? Work more on yourself. If you work on your career, you'll make a living, but if you work on yourself, you'll make a fortune, something like that. But it's a good one, and a lot of what you talk about reminds me of that, because it does take that time to work on yourself. You talk about getting up early and doing the writing and doing the reading and the journaling and the quiet time. I know it's kind of a softball question, but how important are those things in overall development in life and career?
The odd thing is they're almost becoming lost skill sets. They're the ability. I just a couple months ago, that workshop that you attended in Stanford. If you remember, we had a couple folks there that were a little younger, and they were totally incapable of interacting. We had some people in there making some seriously, they were successful gyms. Invited them to, not just one of them, but several of my clients in there that were very, very far down the path, made some money. Personally invited them, just like, come hang out, come to dinner, let's go do these things. And neither one of them would. On the breaks, they sat in their corners, face down on their phones. And then there was a chance to go to dinner with different groups, and they were invited out, no cost to them. They were going to be guests, and neither one of them showed up for the dinners. And then, as always with my groups, we gather, back and have a cocktail or something in the evening and sit around, and just, that's where you kind of get a chance to talk to people and meet people and build relationships. Neither one showed for that. So the ability to express yourself is, and why is that important? Well, in the gym business, I got 6 staff members, and I'm showing them the way we're going to go forward. You just gave a presentation. You write an email or something to the members. Well, now we go in Chat GPT, and you turn out something that's very clinical. Is it well written? No. Is it competent? Yes. It's grammatically correct. It's got all the right phrases and terms in it, but there's no human touch. There's no intent. So you send this to your members, and they read it, and they go, the guy cracked it out on AI. It's worthless. It's just, so they don't know how to communicate. So we don't know how to speak. We don't know how to write. And we're losing the ability in many ways to read for understanding and to train us to think. What you read to learn to solve problems. It gives you a base because it allows you to think. And, well, I read this book on management. I read this book on finance. I read this book on even a novel, and here's what this guy did. And we lose our ability to think and solve problems because we don't read. So you put all those together, I'd see a lot of owners, even 40 and less, that they're so busy, they haven't read a book in a couple of years, or you can listen to a book just as good somewhere in there, but they don't learn how to present. They don't learn how to express their ideas. There's a lot of geniuses out here neglected in the business. You can be the brightest guy in the room, and if you can't express that idea, it's meaningless. Nobody cares because you can't share it. How many great trainers have been out there in the last 20 years that have something breakthrough? They can't express it. They can't write it. They couldn't create a book on it. They can't stand up at a national workshop and say, this is how we should go. And then you look at a guy like Boyle, you look at Durkin, you look at Parisi, all these legends, Great Cook, Lee Burton. There's that whole generation of guys, Cosgroves. They stand in the front room. They've all had professional training. They've all had professional speaking training. Don Saladino is right now, God, he's one of the most successful trainers in the world right now. But the guys, he knows how to write. He spent a lot of time working on his professional speaking. So when he talks to the client, he's poised, he's there. So yeah, lost arts, Billy, all those are but are they important? Yes, more now than probably ever, because that would help you stand out now with people that can't do it.
One of the things to just throw in there, it's kind of obvious, but I think it's easy to forget. And you do this post or whatever it is, and it's 7 tips on how to burn fat. but then you include a story. You include a story about a client, a story about your brother, a story about yourself, whatever it is, and it gets like 1,000 times more engagement. I know you're a big believer in stories. You have a lot of great stories yourself, and I just wanted to throw that in there because I think people miss that quite often.
The word is intent. It's
Mm-hmm.
when you use AI, which you should. It's great. I use it every day. There's questions, there's things that shortcuts some stuff I'm researching or something. It guides me
Mm-hmm.
to the right books, guides me to the right thought process. Maybe gives me an idea. But when you sit and write and you ask it to do something for you, and you change two or three words of the opening sentence to make it yours, well, you didn't personalize it, and
Yeah.
instead of, and you've heard me say this too many times. I apologize. The emotional bridge
Mm-hmm.
between you to do that, to create emotional bridge is almost always based on stories. Hey, I had a client just like you, and this client fought this battle, and this client, I mean, she struggled and struggled and failed at other gyms, and she became successful in this gym because of, well, people that they identify that. If you don't have that story and it's not believable and it's not
Yeah.
true, then you just you don't build that emotional bridge to whoever you're trying to connect to. Good connection, good writing is always emotional. It always comes down, does it move you to action? Does it move you to change your mind thought? And we're losing the ability to do that.
Guys, write that down and remember that good writing, good communication is always emotional. Even when you're talking with somebody, talking to a prospect, it's always going to be emotional connection that's going to drive the change. That's really good stuff. The other thing I want to touch on is I know a little bit about this just from talking with you, but would love for you to share if anybody knows the trends and the things that come and the things that go. It's you. You mentioned AI a couple times there, and I know there's one little bit you do about what's old is new. I'm so caught up in the day to day. I don't know I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's gonna happen in the next few years. I know there's no crystal ball per se, but what do you see? Go currently and maybe down the road a little bit.
Well, there's a crystal ball, and it's called data. And
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be somebody that looks at this consistently. So the things we were talking about two trends about a few trends, three maybe a few years ago. One is the aging statistic. There's a book out I recommend to clients called Stage Not Age, and the first two chapters really talk about the aging. But theoretically, a guy your age is going to probably live to be 95 to 100, and you'll probably be active, upright, functional adult into your 80s that you're there. So everybody wants to live a long time. Nobody wants to get old. So the next training gym where you're focusing on that client of a certain age, that's going to be a huge trend. The data supports it. I subscribe to about 16 legitimate news services a day when I scroll through there, but I'm seeing now five or six a day stories on women over 55 strength training, and I see guys over 50 starting to run, running for the first time. So all the stuff is gathering underneath it to go there. The return of the gym of the past, the old Gold's Gym, World Gym model. Joe Gold was right both times, but that type of serious lifting at gym again. I'm seeing guys 27 back to the basics of picking up heavy stuff again. They're squatting, they're deadlifting, they're back. But now there's no gyms like that. Those gyms now are gone. So there's got to be a whole new generation of Gold's Gym, World Gyms to come back. But that serious lifting gym is back, and people will pay real money for that. And maybe a third one to look at is in 3 years from now, we're going to be at a very, very crucial turning point. 3 years ago, the birth rate started to decline here. 3 years from now, when there's a few 100,000 kids that are supposed to be 6 years old, they were never born.
Mm.
So if I own a sports performance center, I own a dance studio, a karate unit focused on kids, none of those, the kids aren't there. But yet, in 3 years from now, that aging thing, by 2035, there'll be more people 65 and older than 18 and under. So within 3 years, we're going to see a huge pivot point. And just as a side note, we're talking about gym guys. Most of we in the gym business, we cling to the past. We cling to methodology too
Yeah.
long. And it's just like, it's just like you were a trend guy, like you were a guy was doing group training,
Hmm.
team training, group training from the early 2000s. Well, that's changed. That's gone away. But a lot
Hmm.
of guys, they're so tied to the methodology that they won't reinvent themselves. So one thing you can always tell all your followers on this show, Billy, is to reinvent yourself every 3 to 5 years.
That's good.
It doesn't matter how you got here; it's who you're going to be. So a lot of we run a sports performance center now. In 5 years, maybe we should be an adult sports performance center, and because the kids are going to be fewer and they're going to be harder to attract, and there's going to be more people. So our gym now, it's maybe we're kind of hybrid, trying to be everything. Maybe we should just be that gym that charges $89 a month and has 12 squat racks and the whole thing like
Yeah.
Perform Better does in their for when they do the Bruins and they do the Dolphins and they outfit all these. Maybe that's what we need going forward. The answer's there. The data points in this direction, but we cling so much to the past, we refuse to see the data that takes us to the future.
That's another big point. There's a few big points here. That's another one, and it's not easy. People get stuck in their ways, and I'm sure I did in some level. But here I am living like a totally different life and career than I thought I would. So I guess in some ways I have. I really appreciate you sharing that. I want to take this opportunity, Tom, to share. I hope it's okay. I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable. But I want to share a couple of things that I learned from you that they have nothing to do with the X's and O's of the business per se. I would say they're more like sort of character things. So I want to share it. Number one, to acknowledge it and to thank you, but also just to share it with other people because I think they're
Well,
really
go ahead,
valuable.
because people think this is iced tea, but actually I'm day drinking whiskey. So do whatever you want, man. I'm good.
There you go. Well,
It's really
one
iced tea.
and there's so many I could go on and on. By the way, your whole bit just now about the team training and the large group. So I didn't share this until now, of course, but. I met Tom a long time ago. I don't know how many years ago, decades ago, and it was that was the moment that I was doing exactly what he's talking about. I had a large group business, and we were like, I don't know, we were like at the right time. It was like 2000. It was like late what do you call that? Like the late 2000 single digit years, whatever you call that. I don't know what the term for that is, right? But it was like 2009 or so, 2008, 2009. So it wasn't that common at that point. It was a long time ago, and we were crushing it. I like to say we had like embarrassingly, we had I don't know, a lot of people paying $200 a month. They were bringing their own equipment and working out in a large group. And here I was paying a trainer $20 to run the session. Sometimes we had like 40 people in the session, and it was amazing for that moment. Especially a guy like me who went from being in the ditch financially, so things were really good. But something told me that this has to change. I need to reinvent this. This is not going to last. There's other places popping up. They're doing the same thing. They're doing it much better. They have way more money, and that was the catalyst for me attending an event Tom was running, and it was all about adding in the small group and adding in the private and doing the tiered system. So that's kind of how I started the relationship there. Ended up doing some mentorship with Rick Mayo, who was a student of Tom's at the time, and my whole business changed at that point because I made those switches. But enough about me. The two things I wanted to share was number one was just to show up different. So I think that's really good advice. Is you look at what other people are doing, and a lot of times just do the opposite. Like if you're looking at people doing this sort of sales process and it's very cookie cutter, like just do something totally different, right? It'll throw the customer off in a good way. But in this case, it was speaking. Don't pitch from the stage. Let everybody else pitch from the stage, but don't do that. And I've followed that, and I can't tell you how fulfilling it's been, and it takes the pressure off. I've gotten way better results. So it's just an example of doing things differently, but also connecting with people outside of the event, as you led by example there. It's like, hey, let's go out, let's hang out. We'll have some some fake beer if that's the case, or we'll have a meal or whatever it is. And it sounds so silly and it's a little embarrassing. Like, why didn't I think of that? But it's just it was a really good example, a really good reminder. And the other thing was I was driving in the car with you, and we were just having a conversation, and there was a homeless person, and you just like, without even thinking about it, I don't even think you stopped the conversation with me. You were like talking, you stopped, and you gave them. You were very generous, and you blessed them. And I consider myself a generous person, but if I'm honest, I don't do that. I drive past the homeless people until I saw you do that. And it was just really impactful for me to see you live that out. I know you talk about leaving things better than you found them. And you don't just say that, but you've done that. And yeah, I just want to thank you for that and just share that to hopefully encourage other people.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Basic tenet. I thought on the differentiation that almost everybody errs on taking the easiest path. So, like the sales, like instead of running a 6-week trial in a training gym, I'll run 3 sessions for 99. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier. So when I
Mm-hmm.
say be the opposite, but when it comes to speakers, if you and it's a hard day, but you sit and watch like 7 or 8 different speakers, or say a big convention all day, it's easy to see that most of them all follow the same general playbook. They give you about 10 minutes of information, and then they somehow tend to sort of soft pitch you or hard pitch you for the next 40 minutes that you've got the secrets. Well, I shut you off after the first 9 minutes. But somebody that truly shares a vision that can help me, what's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And if you help me, I'm going to find you anyway. That
Mm-hmm.
should be so obvious, but
Yeah.
it's not. Same thing in a gym. If you help me, I'm going to refer people. If you don't get
Mm-hmm.
referrals, it's simply because you're not building that relationship with people. It's not that hard. But slow down. We don't do that. We're so about the coaching that we forget the fact that, we don't send birthday cards.
Mm.
A person spends a year with you. They paid you for a whole year. Come in and give them a little couple bars of chocolate or buy them a bottle of wine or whatever the person wants in their life. We don't do that. So doing the opposite is really just taking the path of thinking it through, but it always comes down to what does the client need and how do I value the people? If I'm speaking all day, I don't want to pitch these people. They're here for me. They want to be helped. So help them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find me. And the
It's
other
good.
part about that, I don't know, man, it's kind of hit me 100 years ago, it seems like, but there was a lot of books out 20, 30 years ago on purpose and all that type. And it's just, I get so tired of that conversation. Yeah, you're here to change it. Just leave it better
Mm-hmm.
than you found it. Just, you got a lot of good stuff in your life. Just leave it better.
Mm.
So if there's a guy, and then of course you hear that, well, they're all faking. If you have to, if the guy's sitting on a stool and he smells and he's got a crumpled bag in front of him and a beat up cup. If he's faking it, he's the best I've ever seen. Giving him $5 is not going to hurt me, and and if he's faking it, then God's going to kick his ass anyway later. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Uh,
we overthink everything, man. We make life and business way too hard. Sell somebody something every day. Just build a relationship with your clients. You're on stage, help people, and you're
mm-hmm.
out in real life. You got a little money in your pocket. Help when you can. It's just not that hard.
It's not a hack.
No, no.
Well, Tom, I want to be respectful of your time. I really appreciate your generosity with that. I just have a few things I'd like to wind down with, if that's okay. Just some good
Dude, I'm
little
loving this. We could go
tie-the-boat
all day,
questions all
man.
day.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, I want to make sure that people can know if they're not already engaged with you, following you. I encourage you to do so because it just makes you think. And I think if no other reason, if it gets you thinking differently, then it's certainly worth a read, a follow, whatever it is. Tom, I know you're active on social media, but is there anywhere specifically that people can find more information if they're interested?
I'm kind of internalizing these days, as you well know. We've had some
Mm-hmm.
conversations, based on dinners and stuff recently. But the best thing I can do now, I'm still teaching speaker schools. They're always up on the Perform Better site,
Mm-hmm.
doing that. I do a few keynotes. I'm doing a couple of Vince Gabriel. I'm doing a keynote for him this year, and Tim Lyons and his group, and So, but I don't write as much of that on the business stuff anymore. And so
Yep.
I'm kind of, if just it's not so much I'm looking for new clients or anything. It's just if you
Yeah.
want to learn to speak, I'm out
Mm.
there. I'm still training a lot of those guys. As you know, you've been to three in a row.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I've been to a ton of speaker trainings and coachings, and yeah, I'll just kind of share a quick experience there for anybody listening. In that, I mean, speaking in general, I plan on doing some more content on this just to kind of encourage you. But speaking has been one of the most fulfilling parts of my life. It's helped make me a lot more money, even in my training career, because I would go very regularly and do presentations. And I think this is true. I think there was only one time that I did a presentation and didn't get a client from it. And I'm talking over the span of a long time, like over a decade. I would do regular, whether it was Chamber of Commerce or whatever organization it was. So that was huge. And that was when I didn't even know anything, right? I wasn't even trained. And then I started learning actually how to actually do it. And yeah, it's been so fulfilling. I mean, it's not for everybody. Communication is for everybody, not necessarily standing on a stage, but I can't think of many things that would help you more than improving those skills, learning how to share your message, how to incite change in people. And the speaker school is amazing. Thom, like he's doing what he says on this show. He delivers the value. There's no question that will get on that won't be answered. And again, I've been to a lot of these things. I mean, and I mean that I've been to a lot of them, and you do not get that type of personal attention, especially from somebody who's walked it and lived it in the same world that we're in. If you're looking to do it in the fitness world, which most people would be, so definitely check that out. And if you have any specific questions to me as somebody who knows about it, and I have, there's no affiliation there. It's just seriously because it was just a great experience. So just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help there. I would get a lot of joy out of that because I know the value that it brings to so many people. You can change the
next one
world.
is we had one in March and that sold out. The next one is April.
Awesome.
And but again, it's all my stuff is now it just I kind of do workshops when the performer people kind of talk me into it or something.
Mm-hmm.
But so the
Yeah.
next speaker school is going to be in Providence. I think it's April 9th through the 11th, but all the details are on the site. It's not necessarily, as you said, about being a front of the stage. It's better communication. I've
Mm.
had
Yeah.
uh, everybody from a Southern Baptist preacher in there to architects to many gym guys to a professor from Sarajevo who came all the way over just to work on his, because he was a consultant to the UN on organized crime.
Mm.
So I've got everybody in between. They're 3 days and they're kind of intense a little, but
Yeah.
they're fun. But I think people would benefit from it. And just the emphasis, we limited them to 16 because everybody needs to get a lot of reps.
Yeah, this is a real offer. If you're interested, reach out to me and let me know because I know sometimes there might be some other questions or there might be some hesitation. So I'm happy to help answer any of those questions. And I'd love to know if you're going to do it because I might see you there. But that'll be great. So thanks, Thom, for sharing that, putting that out there. I will say too, not to overcommit Thom, but he is known for helping in other areas as well. So that was the other thing. It's more than just the actual communication. You'll learn a lot of other things that'll help your business, that'll help your life. All right, so Thom, here we go. Last few questions for you. I don't know. This is a little bit selfish, but I'm just really curious. I've tried to sneak some of this stuff out of you. What's a financial mistake that you've made or lesson that maybe we could avoid or learn from it somehow? Maybe it turned into something. There was a silver lining somewhere, and it helped you in some way. What is it like with
Uh,
every
well,
problem is a
everybody's
seed
got
of opportunity? Yeah,
that dumbass moments, and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
My 20s, early 30s, I was living in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
and I racked up some credit card debt and all kinds of stuff because in San Francisco at that time period, it was easy to eat out every night, easy to party down every night, and just there was
Mm-hmm.
always something magical going on, and it was an incredible run, but it left me in debt, and
Mm-hmm.
so that thing is. Second thing is, I started saving early, got some decent advice, meaning in my early 30s, I started to make some change. I wish I'd been a little more aggressive on it.
Yeah.
Uh, got into houses early and just and had some really nice places, and then you kind of you move up, and you kind of do
Mm-hmm.
that over time. There's a couple in there I wish I would have hung on to, and like I
Yeah.
had a place in Frisco, Colorado that would have been a wonderful second home, but
Mm-hmm.
you flip and you move on, and sometimes you go, I could have figured out another way to do that, but
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake I make is it took me a long time to figure out exactly what the hell I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I never had a guy like you that could sit down and look at me with money. So I kind of had to
Yeah.
learn it all. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't invest as quickly as I wanted and or as aggressively as I should have when I made
Mm-hmm.
early money. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me a while to get to that point, but learn about money, I guess, is the
Yeah, that's
lesson.
good.
And I was kind of late to that prospect. I just
Yeah.
didn't figure it out till later.
Yeah. The good news is that you can recover. That's the cool thing. Yeah, it does suck. I'm not gonna deny it to realize what you lost by not doing it sooner. But yeah, using that as motivation. My answer would be similar if you were to ask me that. So I appreciate you sharing that. I know you're a big reader. What's a book that was maybe really impactful for you? Maybe it changed things for you. Maybe it caused you to think differently, or just really any resource that you could share that you think would benefit us.
The I'm the person that pulls the thread. So if there's
Mm-hmm.
something I want to learn, I can't stand not knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm all in, meaning I've got to find a course.
Yeah.
I changed my writing a couple years. I've written a lot of business books back in the day. And then there's a point of, again, plan your own exit. Everything changes. So I wanted to get into a different style of writing, but I realized I need the background. So of course, then I've got to buy the books. Then I've got to take the classes. And then I finally got
Yeah.
so excited, I went back and my late 60s and jumped back into graduate school again.
Wow.
So I keep pulling the thread because there's something I want to learn. I want to learn. So when people read, they tend to read shallow. If I want to learn about financial stuff, I don't want one perspective. I want two or three. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
find the books in my category. Because if you read one book and it's not quite there, then you tend to pick up that author's viewpoint instead of mastering the whole thing.
Nice.
And so, an example would be the customer experience. That's good. How
Mm-hmm.
do we change that? So,
Yeah.
Never Lose a Customer Again is an obvious book, but then you jump into 113 million markets of one, an older book, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go all the way back to the experience economy with Pine back in the day. So now I've got three different books from three different perspectives on how to create a client experience, which is going to be important now in the next 10 years with AI, is that the human experience in the gyms is going to be the most important thing, the human touch.
Mm-hmm.
I can do online. I don't need you, but I need you. People come to gyms because they want to be part of a group. They want that. So how do we throw that party again? Well, we're so worried about online support for clients that are not there that we have 200 clients in our gym every week and we don't know how to provide the human touch. We
Mm-hmm.
forget how to make them feel part of the tribe. So when I pull that thread, I'm going to read 3 or 4 or 5 books on that subject because I want to be that person that just doesn't have it. I want to be the expert on it. So individual books, looking in terms of genre, looking at
Nice.
if I'm going to kill something, I'm going to kill it all. I'm going to learn to invest. I'm going to read 4 or 5 of the best investment books because I want the perspectives, not
Yeah.
just one guy tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with all aspects of our business. It's just so pull the thread, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe take the classes with it
That's
and
good.
maybe sign up for the courses. Or one final thing, I'm sorry, ranting on it, but
No, it's good.
then I always find the source and then I pay the guy to teach me.
Yeah.
So it's just, I want to learn this. So who knows how to do it? Good. Hey, I pester the guy, find out how to get a hold of him, irritate him to death, and then try to find a way. It's like, I want 2 hours. Just book me 2 hours. Then I
Mm-hmm.
record the whole thing. And then, because
Mm-hmm.
I got questions, I want to know, well, how did that person that got it done do it? And then what can I learn from that? So if you throw that on top of everything, and then you get pretty far down. But a lot of guys won't ask because their egos won't let them know that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. You remind me of somebody, by the way. You actually just gave me like a couple of additional questions there, so I'm sorry. Do you like to reread books?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I figured that. And is there any, and if not, I'm putting you on the spot here. Are there any, because one area that I don't think I've done a ton of training on is writing. I've done a ton of speaking, not as much writing. Are there any, I know you also have a writing course, but are there any books that jump out at you that might be good, or is that kind of too vague? Depends on the
The
writing.
the books, that's going to be a God. We could do an hour on this, Billy,
Yeah.
just on the. I get probably three, four, five books sent to me a month,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wrote my first book, and no, you didn't. You just did. You just Chat GPT just wrote your first
Mm-hmm.
book, and
Yep.
it sucks
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't write the book. There's
Mm-hmm.
no you in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and so the ability to write it's there's if you want to write fiction, nonfiction, there's some good writing
Mm-hmm.
on how to do it, different styles depending on what you want to write. You're a
Mm-hmm.
fiction guy versus nonfiction. There's Anne Handley, for example, that she writes really, she can coach on writing better emails, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's just a source. If you really want to learn to write, you need to take courses. And you really need to learn from somebody that can write and somebody that can look at your work and edit it. The Gotham writers, for example, out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken courses there, but I also hired an editor there to look at some stuff I'd written, and the guy just absolutely crushed me. I learned more in probably 2 hours working with
Wow.
this guy than I did my whole master's degree program because he was just such a good editor. But still, that's another step where a human being looks at your work and coaches you through it. So if you
That's
want to learn
good.
the writing, you probably need to find a writing coach. But you can
Mm-hmm.
start with the main books and at least look at that. But don't ask Chat GPT how to teach you to write because it's not going to take you down that path of individualizing it, capturing the emotion, telling the story, and all that comes from just a good class. The classes are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
SNHU has basic writing programs
Mm-hmm.
that you don't necessarily have to get a degree. They're economic. They're 10-week courses, once a week. You're all online, so you don't have to show up for any online classes. But you'll
Mm-hmm.
learn more from one of those classes because you got peers reading your stuff, and you got a coach reading your stuff, the instructor. So if you want to learn to
That's great.
write, you have to have a human involved, but it's going to be one of the last great skill sets because creativity will be suffering with AI. So to retain your ability to express yourself, you need to learn to do that. Speaking, writing has to be those two things.
Yeah, that's great. And just to just to add to that, they complement each other. Obviously, you get better at speaking. It helps you with the writing, and vice versa.
Right, because the
Yeah.
same skill sets are there
Mm-hmm.
when you're on stage and you're leaning in and telling a story, but you had to create the story, you had
Mm-hmm.
to write it out, and you had to role play it. So it's just like you're writing a scene in a book.
Mm-hmm.
If you're writing nonfiction, it's the ability to write a newsletter to 200 members and say, man, here's what I'm thinking about this week. We just had this client and she really suffered from this. And she broke through because she was doing a couple of things. And here's what we found. And man, I think these can help you versus, you should be eating protein the size of your hand because I just asked GPT to write the email for me and it gives tips, but it doesn't relate. How do I relate? And that's the skill
Mm-hmm.
set of speaking and of writing.
That's so good. I'll give a quick action step. So think about what are these areas that would help me in my career, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, whether it's communication, conversation, sales. There's so many things, and dive in. Do the deep dive, like Tom talked about. Get the books, and if you haven't done this, you'd be surprised how simple it is to actually take the next step. There's many times where I've read the book, even author I hadn't even heard of, and then I'll find them online and reach out, and before you know it, you're running, you're in a course, you're doing coaching or whatever it is, and it could change things. So that's really really good. Last one here is your 10-year plan. What's on your, I don't know, not the phrase bucket list, but you've done so much, life, career. What's something you're looking forward to? Something you're excited about? What are you chasing, Tom Plummer?
Less is more.
Nice.
Uh, I've had a little over, and people laugh at this numbers. I actually had somebody challenge me with this. a national speaker. I threw this out, and he was waiting for me afterwards and said, "That's crap." But I've taught over 1,100 workshops, and I had to show
Wow.
him the math in 50 years, what it takes to get to. It's not as crazy as it sounds over 50 years, but I've taught
Yeah.
over 1,100 workshops. So um, I've had people, I tell the story often, but this woman was so wound up sitting in the workshop that every break she was here, always right here, asking me questions and
Hmm.
questions. And she was actually kind of angry because it contradicted how she was running her business. And at a break, she's following me down the hall, yelling at me, asking questions over and over again. And I just turned, walked in. I'm standing at the urinal, and she's right here. And I said, look up and where are you? And she looked around. She was, oh my God. It's just like she had no idea. She was so intense.
Wow.
Take that times 1,100 workshops times 50 years. So I like quiet days now. I'm internalizing. I'm taking less, the speaking gigs are just something where like I could do a keynote. I'm not even talking about business this year on my keynotes. The people that asked me, I said, no more business. I'm talking about life and,
Hmm.
what do you want and things like that, which
Hmm.
those my hosts are very excited about because,
Yeah.
they at their stage, they're handling business or that.
Hmm.
So less is more, man. Quiet time. Got a couple more books to write, but 10 years at this age, it'd be, I don't believe much in tomorrow, so I only believe in today's, and
Hmm.
in that sense. So, but smaller life, quieter life, not and a few less people in my life
Yes.
now and then wouldn't hurt, and I certainly don't need people following me into the restroom to ask me questions.
Oh man, I love it, Tom. Well, thanks so much for all your time here and great wisdom. We're all better for it, and yeah, thank you. I'm just honored to know you and to just have that relationship. So really appreciate all you do, and our industry and our world is better for you. And just really just thank you on behalf of everyone else.
Thank you, my friend. I greatly appreciate it today. Thank you so much.